Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. Yay! Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. I know it's been a minute since I've been here. I have been swamped with deadlines for my next book that's coming out in June or July. Anyway, but I'm here. So thank you so much. I know I keep having excuses. I feel like I'm always trying to catch up. I haven't even had time to watch a movie. So this one is coming in a little bit late, but I wanted to talk about it. The movie I'm reviewing today is called a Minecraft movie. And if you're brand new here, then you should know my goal is to always save you time and money by giving you the scoop of filmmaking quality and content so you can decide whether or not you want to spend your time and your money watching a particular film. So this one is currently in theaters. And so you're probably wondering if you want to spend time and money on this one. It is a goofy video game adaptation by Warner Brothers Pictures. And it's also playing on Fandango at home simultaneously in theaters. The movie is rated PG. It's an hour and 41 minutes. And my overall movie review mom grade is probably about a C. Now, the question is this movie as terrible as everybody says? I'm going to say no. I kind of got a kick out of it. However, it definitely has some issues. So we're going to get into all of that. First, I'll give you an overview in a nutshell. Then I'll point out things I liked, things I didn't like, tips for parents, themes worth talking about. I'll share funny lines and interesting lines. And then we'll finish up with a couple of movies that I want to recommend that I think that you'll really like, especially if you do like this one. Now, I'm going to occasionally be looking over here to see who's joining me and if anybody's writing any comments. Be sure and put your comments down below. So today, the featured product that I wanted to tell you about before I dive into the movie is simply a Nerf Minecraft Firebrand dart blasting axe, because it's something that we see in the movie that just kind of made me laugh. So you can click on the link below and you'll see that, and you can grab it on Amazon if you want. Anyway, let's start off with a nutshell. So I've never played Minecraft before, but I have 4 sons who were obsessed with it, with the game for many years as they played it growing up. And no, the movie is not the greatest movie ever made, but I think Minecraft films or fans will be amused by the world building and the very enthusiastic and goofy Jack Black and Jason Momoa. As expected, film critics hate it and have awarded it a very low 49% on Rotten Tomatoes last time I looked, while audiences are showing some love with a score of 87%. That's a huge spread. The action comedy was directed by Jared Hess. And I was just thinking about him recently because I had just watched Nacho Libre again, which is such a fun movie. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. And I was wonder what Jared Hess is up to. And then I started hearing that this movie was coming out. So I was looking forward to it. He also voices the character General Chungus in the movie. Writing credits go to Chris Bowman, Hubbel Palmer, and Neil Widener. So the story is about 4 misfits who are suddenly pulled through a mysterious portal into a bizarre cubic wonderland that thrives on imagination. So to get back home, they'll have to master this world while embarking on a quest with an unexpected expert crafter. So quick tips for parents. There is talk of the death of a mom. There is some profanity, but not like what you're thinking, like OMG type of stuff, which is great. And sometimes things have acronyms even like that, like OMG, which I appreciate, especially if this is supposed to be a family-friendly type of movie. There is violence with Minecraft creatures. There are various weapons that are used. There's lots of destruction, as you can imagine. People are in perilous situations. 2 men hang on to each other in a very suggestive manner. For adults, it's supposed to be so funny. And I'm like, that's not appropriate, especially for kids. You didn't need to include that. And then Jason Momoa's character uses a lot of Spanish phrases incorrectly, which made me laugh out loud because I am fluent in Spanish. And so I actually thought that was pretty cute. Some of the themes that are illustrated really well are friendship, second chances, imagination, and the challenges of being a creative. And as an author myself of 36 books, I recognize there are some unique challenges to being a creative, whether it's art or music or writing or whatever. And so I appreciated that. We don't see that often in movies. All right, so here's the list of things that I really like. First of all, Jack Black. So you either love him or you hate him. And personally, I get a kick out of him. Like most of the movies that he's in, he sings quite a few times, which always makes me laugh. He definitely brings the School of Rock vibe with him in this movie. And I loved that movie, actually. And if you did too, then I think that you'll get a kick out of his character in this film. Now, not all of his characters in all movies are great that he's in, but if you like him, then you probably get a kick out of this. And then who doesn't love Jason Momoa? Hello. I love the little details of his character, including the chipped black fingernail polish and his bangs. And I love that he never takes himself seriously in any movies, at least any that I have seen. And maybe he'll stretch his acting wings and maybe try some serious drama at some point. But I think everybody loves him as just a goofball. Other cast members include Kate McKinnon, always a hit from SNL, Jennifer Coolidge, Jermaine Clement, Rachel House, and Danielle Brooks. And speaking of Jermaine Clement, he was the voice of Aquaman in the DC League of Super Pets in 2022, while Jason Momoa, of course, played Aquaman in the movies. The young cast members include Sebastian Hansen and Emma Myers, and I thought that they did a good job. There are a lot of really cute Easter eggs for fans. For example, when we see a pig wearing a crown, it's a respectful shout out to Technoblade, who was a popular YouTuber who featured Minecraft in his movies or in his videos. Jack Black's character points out that, quote, he's a legend, end quote. And sadly, Technoblade actually passed away recently in 2022. The Minecraft company's home screen wrote, quote, Technoblade never dies on its home screen. And I thought that was sweet and such a lovely tribute to him. So that was awesome. Kids might get excited about a cameo performance of I'm not saying it right. Afmal. I'm probably still not saying it right. Anyway, there were quite a few moments that actually did make me laugh out loud. And I think a lot of this movie's success has to do with not expecting a lot. I mean, video game adaptations are notoriously horrible. And so I definitely lowered my expectations because of that. And so I enjoyed it. And I think if you're expecting the greatest movie in the world, you're going to be disappointed. And you can never go wrong with a llama, which is in the movie. And I think Jared Hess must have a llama. I don't know if he does or not, but they're in some of his movies, and it just makes me laugh out loud. There is almost nonstop action. It's extremely creative. And for all of those reasons, I really did enjoy it. However, with all of that being said, there were some things that I didn't like. For example, the first 8 minutes are a whole lot of exposition. Now, I didn't really mind personally because it filled me in a little bit on how Minecraft works, sort of, I mean, for maybe parents that are watching it or grandparents that don't know this whole universe, then they might go, okay. If you're a fan, you might be annoyed by it. It's extremely obvious that the actors worked in front of a green screen for probably 80 to 90% of the movie. And I was surprised at how bad it looked. Honestly, if you're going to use that much green screen. So I was really disappointed by the visuals. This movie would have been way more successful had it come out about 10 years ago. Parents might get tired of all the mayhem and the loud music and the running around and the chaos and the destruction. In that regard, I think it really is geared more towards kids or those who grew up playing the game and loved it. And then some other things that were annoying was that it seemed fairly woke. They were trying to get all of the required characters and sidelines going. There were some side characters that really didn't do anything, didn't really contribute much to the movie. And so that was disappointing. Just tell a good story. I don't care what color people are. Just tell a good story first. Now, and speaking of funny things, was I just speaking about funny things? Whenever I watch movies, I instantly write down funny lines and interesting lines simply so that I can share them with you so you can get a taste for the dialogue and the script writing quality and all of that. I'm looking over here again to see if anybody's commented. Nobody yet, but you can still comment after the movie. I mean, after this live is over and it's just on YouTube. But anyway, here's some funny lines. So one line is spoken by Jack Black's character, and he says, "It was the kind of life that makes a man stare into his potatoes." And he's referring to at the very beginning of the movie, his life was stale and he was looking for something. And then he found this portal and he loves this new creative world. He is a creative. And so the movie really focuses on imagination and using your creativity as a superpower, really. And I loved that. And then another line that he says is, "I mined my brains out. I found this thingy and that thingy." And so he doesn't know what this whole world is all about, but he just was so excited to be passionate and excited about something again. And I can relate to that too. Jason Momoa, just like I said, always says crazy, goofy things that I just thought were funny. And so he says, "If you make this happen for me, I'll seriously consider hanging out with you," because he's supposed to be the cool guy, which he is, but at the same time, he's also a nerd loser type of guy. And then there's this storage guy that says, "This man has no respect for the storage community." And so I appreciate little fun moments like that are just super goofy. Oh, and I wrote another line, but I didn't wrote who said it. And I'm trying to remember who said it. I'll just skip to the next line. Trevor's friend is played by Frankie Cree Leslie. And he says, "My dad says math has been debunked," as they're talking about, math and trying to figure out these problems. And I just thought that was kind of funny. So Jason Momoa, like I said, there is profanity in some ways, but other people, it may not even seem like profanity. But anyway, he was singing a little tune and talking about jingles and businesses and companies and that kind of stuff. And he says, "I have a small business too, but one thing I do is have my jingles not suck butt." So there's that kind of language. So I definitely don't put that in the same category as F-bombs. And I'm so grateful there were no F-bombs, but some parents may cringe a little bit if they hear that kind of a thing, or some people may laugh. Let's see. Oh, you can go onto my website, moviereviewmom.com, and you can see all of these lines written down. I don't want this YouTube live to be 30 minutes long, so I'm going to just, I'll finish with this line for a funny line. So this again is Jack Black, and he's just so enthusiastic. And I love that about him. And in almost all of his movies, he is so enthusiastic. Anyway, and so he says to everybody, "First we mine, then we craft. Let's Minecraft." That kind of a thing. And it just makes me laugh because that's so Jack Black. So then I wrote down a bunch of interesting lines, and I thought this was really interesting. Jack Black says, in a serious moment, "Creativity in this world is the key to survival." And I thought that was so interesting. When we look at Maslow's hierarchy, we've got, survival basics. You need food and shelter and, to just survive. And then you start rising up in that triangle to more altruistic things. And I like that Jack Black, or his character, recognizes that we need to have variety. We need to have meaning and purpose, and to have a sense that we're contributing to the world in some way, in a sense of fulfillment. Anyway, and I think that that's absolutely true. And then he also says in another serious moment, "It is harder to create than destroy." And I liked that line because there's a lot of destruction going on. And then he says, "You can create the life you dream of." And I think that that's so true. I mean, I don't want to go into, my whole philosophy on that, but I really do believe it, that if you can think it and dream it and work hard to achieve it, you can have it. I don't know if that's a real quote or if I just made that up, but something along those lines, And sometimes I'm like, I can dream big, but you also have to take actions, big actions, to make it happen. All right. Okay. So you can see more lines on my website. And so now let me tell you about a couple of movies. You might know about them, but if you haven't seen them, you definitely should check them out. They're both also directed by Jared Hess. And when he first came out, I think his first movie might have been, or big movie, big box office movie, was Napoleon Dynamite. Have you seen that one? I remember that came out many years ago. My kids were, still young. My oldest was a teenager, and we went to the movie theater with some of their friends who were literally falling out of their chairs and laughing. And I was like, I think I'm not getting this because it's about a guy who's got, some issues. And as a mother, I was feeling sad for him. I'm like, everybody shouldn't be laughing about him. And then, finally I was like, okay, I'm going to play with this. And then I could see the humor. Now my family just quotes lines from this movie still to this day. And then the next movie that he did came out was Nacho Libre, which again, I just watched it recently and it still holds. It is still so funny and made me laugh again, even though I'd seen it several times. And my oldest son can quote almost every line from that movie. They're just good, silly, goofy fun. So not going to win, best actor awards or anything like that, or best picture of the year. But for just dumb, silly, goofy fun, I recommend those two. And by the way, you can click down in my description and get the links to those so that you can find those and watch those online. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for sticking around with me. Let me take one last look and see. No comments. You guys are being very quiet. But thank you again for joining me. When you get a minute, follow me on social media. I'm everywhere on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn, and I don't know, everywhere. You can learn about my books, my online courses, my author coaching, and my other shenanigans. Have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.